Welcome to Peanuts from the Plebs.
Hello,
Here we are at
welcome
the end of
everyone.
summer.
Welcome.
Daisy, would you like to start?
Oh my God, me?
Yes.
We're trying to be good.
Well, I mean, seeing as how you guys had already started a conversation before, right? I mean, I do have a story that I want to talk about, but I'm not sure if we want to start off with this, but I guess we could start off with this. All right, so I wanted to share this story first because it kind of hits home, but also it's almost like a continuation of the story that I had done on Vanessa Guillen.
Right.
So it says, Brockton soldier missing from Fort Hood found dead, family says. So I don't know if you guys remember the story of Vanessa Guillen that I went over about like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, there's been more about Fort Hood in the news, and Tulsi tweeted out something regarding someone getting killed there.
Right.
Yeah.
So again, this is from the Boston Globe. This story is from August 26th. And this is Sergeant Elder Fernandez. All right. And so it says the family of Sergeant Elder Fernandez learned late Tuesday night that the young soldier's body had been found hanging from a tree about 25 miles from Fort Hood, from which he disappeared more than a week ago, the family's lawyer said. A person walking near a railroad track in Temple, Texas, spotted Fernandez's body at about 5:40 p.m. The lawyer for the family is Natalie Kawam, which is the same lawyer as the family for Vanessa Guillen. And so it says, we will not stop until we find out what happened to Elder, the statement said. We must demand a congressional investigation of Fort Hood. We must protect our soldiers. I mean, I don't understand how many more people this has to happen to in order for them to actually take this seriously, like the Congress, to actually look and actually do an investigation on this. So it says, when Ailina Fernandez flew to Texas last week out of concern for her son, she was in the dark about so much. The Brockton mother did not know her son had reported a sexual assault by a superior officer, or that the 23-year-old had since been traumatized and harassed and grown suicidal. She did not know he had been reassigned to a new unit within his brigade for his safety. She knew her son had been hospitalized since August 11th, but she didn't know why. Her son and her had been cryptic in their daily phone conversations, saying he needed to clear his head and would call after he was discharged, but he never did. Earlier Tuesday, just a couple hours before her son's body was found, Ailina Fernandez told the Boston Globe in an exclusive interview that she last spoke to her son on August 16th. When she didn't hear from him after that, she called the base and found that he had been discharged from the hospital on the 17th and hadn't been seen since a staff sergeant dropped him off at his off-base home. When Elder Fernandez didn't show up for work the next day, his mother decided to buy a plane ticket. I just can't go back to Boston without my son, Ailina Fernandez said by phone. I need answers. I can't resume my life not knowing. And I'm sure that obviously her son missing is a big deal, but the fact that this comes after so many other people have gone missing, I'm sure that this was like, alarm bells went off for this poor woman,
Do you have an idea about how many people we're talking at this point?
So it goes on later to talk about it, but just this year, it's 10 bodies have been found.
Oh, shit, that's just horrific. So yeah, I did find August 21st, Tulsi did tweet a story regarding this. So hopefully, I mean, other people just getting it out there in the news, Daisy, you're doing your part to basically say, absolutely, needs to be a major investigation. I'm really glad that one lawyer or investigator is looking at multiple cases, right, to try and track what are the similarities going across them,
Yeah.
That's just the kind of work we need done.
Yeah. I mean, it's just baffling to understand that obviously something is going on in this area. For him, it's that they're saying that he committed suicide, and later on in the story, it kind of goes into that. But when you have just this year alone, like it says here, in a disturbing series of disappearances, Elder Fernandez was the 10th soldier to vanish from Fort Hood in a year. 5 of the cases have been deemed unsolved homicides, according to the nonprofit Missing People in America, which that's the site that I used the last time that I was talking about this story. But yeah, I mean, obviously, like, something is going on, whether it's that it's the actual culture there, or it's that someone specifically is doing something, like, but something is going on. And the fact that this is going on with our soldiers, and that this is made a bigger deal, that's what I don't understand. Like, this is,
So
I
my
mean,
guess it would be a combination of those things. Both the climate and the environment don't allow for support of people that are being pressured, peer pressured, put under duress, and some individuals are somehow targeting them. That's what I would think.
I mean,
I
yeah,
speculate.
that's what
Yeah.
would make sense.
I mean,
yeah.
obviously, these people don't have support that this keeps happening to these individuals.
Do you think there's a parallel between the extrajudicial, these kinds of whatever, these killings, which for whatever reason we wouldn't necessarily know, but it seems like any kind of investigation is suppressed, and there's not any due diligence done with these investigations of these, obviously more than you statistically would expect from this amount of people, right? That this many people would be killed and or disappear or whatever. Do you think there's a parallel between that and kind of the extrajudicial, killings by the police in, like, cities around the country, like that mentality that you can get away with it?
Yeah.
And is that something
yeah.
that
And
we're
some
moving
kind of
moving in that direction? It seems like there's, with Tucker Carlson, kind of condoning the behavior of, a 17-year-old with a semi-automatic, gun in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and the police not basically, condoning that as well, and this kind of behavior. And are you really going to see Congress get to the bottom of it, so to speak, or is it going to take something more than that?
So my guess is there definitely is a comparison to, like, a blue wall of silence of the police, right? They're basically they're putting up barriers, and outside folks not want to get involved in that internal matter, right? Like, they don't really want to jump into the middle of a police investigation if the police are handling themselves. They don't want to jump into something that's an army internal matter that might be, but we need to. I mean, at this point, it's just, we're talking a death a month for the year, right? And that's crazy.
Right.
Yeah, I definitely think it has to be some sort of combination of all these things, and I definitely think that plays a major hand in it, because obviously these investigations are being done internally, and you remember how last time when I was talking about the Vanessa Guillen story, they're pushing for legislation so that they can have a third party come in and investigate these things, because how is it that you can actually expect for a true investigation, true and just investigation, to be conducted on themselves? The same exact thing like what you were saying with the blue wall.
Right.
And later on in the story, I'll read on, they talk about how he was harassed by after he made his complaint, he was harassed by his fellow soldiers because of the fact that he spoke up. And that is something that is a major issue. That's a major reason why a lot of women that go and they are raped and harassed and all that in the military, they can't speak up because of the backlash that they get from these people. And you got to remember that, I mean, these people are not in combat, but when you're out in combat, that really does mess with the camaraderie. If you have somebody amongst your ranks, that I'm saying this is how they look at it, that if
Right.
you have somebody amongst your ranks that is willing to snitch or just like is not tough enough or whatever it may be, you know what I'm saying, like it makes it so that person either doesn't feel comfortable, doesn't feel like they're their comrades or their fellow soldiers are going to take care of them, when they're out in combat.
Mm.
And it also doesn't, the other people, they don't feel like they can trust this person. It all comes down to trust, obviously.
Yeah.
But having that blind trust where it's very like a mafia, like you can't have the military running like the mafia, even though it feels kind of like it's been like that for a while now.
Oh yeah, it's like the mafia or the DNC. It's all about loyalty, right?
Yeah.
I love making that comparison.
So it says, in a statement issued before Fernandez's family confirmed his death, the Army said that finding the soldier and resuming the care he was receiving before his recent absence remains the top priority of the 1st Cavalry Division. Bullshit. We continue to believe Sergeant Fernandez left on his own accord, and there is no connection between his disappearance and any other ongoing cases at Fort Hood, military officials said in a statement posted to Facebook. Exactly like what happened with Vanessa Guillen, right? They said, oh, no, there's no, it has nothing to do, one has nothing to do with the fact that, she had just reported sexual harassment from a superior. Right. It says, even though the family now knows circumstances took a dark turn for the young soldier on the gigantic Army base halfway between Austin and Waco, they insisted he would not harm himself. They believed their loved one was scared and hiding, which, I mean, at the same time, so it goes on to kind of paint the picture that maybe, he was going through depression, and they talk about how in like Facebook posts that he had, cryptically talked about certain things. So it just feels like they're kind of they're kind of carrying water for Fort Hood, for this investigation, really, when they're talking about all this stuff. Because I'm sorry, dude, but I don't believe in coincidences, and I just think that this is just way too many coming all at once.
Absolutely.
If Elder Fernandez did hurt himself, it is the Army's fault, his mother said. So, like I said, they go on to talk about all this kind of stuff. And it says, and then it talks about how Fernandez's family has hired the same lawyer. And it says, people have to be held accountable for what they've done here, Quam said Tuesday. Enough is enough. These families all need answers. Fernandez reported in May that a male superior staff sergeant had groped him in April in a supply closet. And the story that had happened with Vanessa Guillen, it was that her superior walked in on her taking a shower, and the superior stood there and watched her as she took a shower, even though obviously she asked him to leave, but he forced her to continue taking a shower. It says a spokesperson for the 1st Cavalry Division has confirmed an open investigation of abusive sexual contact involving Elder Fernandez. So at least with this one, they actually admit that yes, there is an open investigation to it. Things got worse for Fernandez. The sexually abusive staff sergeant started following and harassing Fernandez, Quam said. Superiors at his job bullied him. Fellow soldiers teased and picked on him, she said. So, I mean, obviously, if you are like what this is telling me is that, again, this is just it's creating that culture in which sexual assault victims, they already have a hard enough time coming out and speaking out about things, but in this sort of environment, we unless there is a congressional investigation into this, like a serious one, this is
don't hold your breath, Daisy. Don't hold your breath.
Listen, Steve.
I mean,
I actually need to talk to you about this, because like every single time that I bring up something, you always say that it's not going to happen, that don't hold your breath, that blah, blah, blah. I understand this. I'm just saying that this is what needs to happen. I understand it's most likely not going to happen, and that, nothing's going to come out of this. Okay. But it needs to happen. Yeah. I live in a world where we need to put shit out there. We need to hold people accountable, and I think that ultimately is what this comes down to.
But it's just getting worse, and I think Fort Hood is just is just like Trump is a symptom. Fort Hood is a symptom of the bigger problem, which is the rising mentality of I mean, I guess fascism, for lack of a better word, but I mean, it's a reaction to decades of inability to get anything done, to gridlock and everything, and people feeling like we have to do whatever it takes to make change, and that's why Trump got elected. And I think the Democrats are just cover for the corporate Democrats are just cover for the Republicans or for that. But I mean, the whole thing is like there is a mentality that goes through the military. Elements of the military, elements of police departments, and elements of the culture at large. I mean, look at just, you see it in the media, you see it everywhere. I mean, I think there's a feeling that that somehow we can't follow the rules anymore. We have to have a kind of an unwritten agreement, whatever, and kind of take things into our own hands. And I think that's the mentality that you see in Fort Hood, and you see it in the police departments, and you see it around the country. I mean, that's what scares me. And a congressional investigation, that's like they, at this point, I don't see them. I agree that you need to do something, but I don't see them doing it at this point. I think we need a bigger solution. And maybe the People's Party is part of it.
I think ultimately, well, first of all, I don't think that that's going to be the whole solution either. But I mean, ultimately, what I think is that we have to hold these people to account. We can't be apathetic. And I feel like to a certain extent, that's what's happened, is that we are getting to the point where we're just saying, exactly, well, we can't change them, so fuck it. Let's not even talk about it, or let's not even try to do anything. And I feel like that is more dangerous than what's going on right now. And I feel like go ahead.
Well, in the large picture, there is some points of hope in tomorrow in both the People's Convention and the vote for the Articles of Unity. Which will be happening tomorrow. So there are a whole lot of people out there that agree with us. That are like, things have to radically change. Our leadership fails us completely. I mean, this is just, I agree that this is just a symptom. Just look at the lack of leadership in COVID, and leave it both in addressing the disease and addressing the effects on the people financially and health wise.
Well, there's no program. I mean, that's the thing. Like neither the Republicans or the Democrats are really presenting a program. I mean,
hold on. Let's stay on this topic though.
Yeah,
we're going to talk about something else, and then we're going to talk about something else. But
let's go for it. Continue. Okay. Yeah.
All right. So it says Isabel Fernandez, the soldier's aunt, turned to Massachusetts Representative Liz Miranda, a fellow Cape Verdean, for help. Miranda, in turn, collaborated with U.S. Senators Ed Markey and Elizabeth Warren and State Representative Gerard Cassidy. The lawmakers called for a congressional investigation and pressured the Army to provide information to the Fernandez family. So again, like I said, this is something that we already have. Like Tulsi, she had held a press conference weeks ago calling for a congressional investigation. Now we have this happen, and we see that now we have what are considered more heavy hitters or whatever it may be. You know what I'm saying? People that have a little bit more pull in the sense of Elizabeth Warren and Ed Markey. And even if they use this as something that they can, use it for their platform or, like for their next reelection, it's something that the more voices that we have calling for this, the more seriousness that's attached to it. And even if it's just a matter of, it looks like it's a good thing to do, well, I don't care. I want something like this. This has got to end.
Yeah, it would be great if they got some Texas politicians involved in that as well, right? I mean, It's happening in your backyard. Take care of it.
Right. And I think that's the thing, that this involving someone from Massachusetts, and not just involving people that live in Texas. Well, now it's becoming a thing where, your constituents are dying,
right,
while they're serving our country. So what are you going to do about it?
Yep.
Like that's ultimately what it's coming down to. I mean, this is nuts. And then the final thing is it says the military won't tell Elder Fernandez's mother any details about his hospitalization, citing patient privacy rights under HIPAA, which I just think is such bullshit, because he passed. Why can't you give out this information? He passed away already.
Well, also HIPAA allows for you know, the rights of next of kin, et cetera, like that. It's not like that's in a, it's crazy. Somebody that's passed that HIPAA does. I'm sure that it does allow for that.
I just
that
feel
can't
like
be
it's an
correct.
excuse. It's an
Yeah,
excuse so that the military doesn't actually have to release any sort of information,
right.
because I'm sure that they had to have done some sort of, like, obviously psychological evaluation. They had to have, even if, what about if there was like physical evidence of some sort of, assault that was done on him? I'm sure that they had to document that kind of stuff. And again,
Yes,
it's more evidence that would prove that something serious is going on here, and that it wasn't just that he decided to go and hang himself, which is, again, 23 years old. All those
it's
people that I
horrific.
was mentioning, in the last time that we were talking about this, 19 years old, 20 years old, 23 years old. That is just the saddest thing. And this
Absolutely.
and he was like, he was someone who, like Vanessa Guillen, had all his life had wanted to be a part of the military. His dad is also a part of the military, and I don't know, all this stuff just like,
It's horrible.
really, it's horrible. Yeah, that's why I was like, all right, well, I guess if you want to start with that.
Okay.
Oh, no, but that's important, because we're saying it brings in to play, like, all aspects of leadership. How is there not something triggered at this point? How can you not break through? There is the comparison to the blue wall of the police. How can you have this structure that obviously can't police itself effectively, and why isn't there a mechanism that doesn't bring in outside officials to take a look at that, right? So it's really current with everything we're saying about the police as well.
I think there has
Yeah,
to be
and honestly, if we can't even investigate this with our military, that supposedly everyone loves our military and our service people and all, they're the number one people that we care about,
Right.
then how do we expect for anything to change with policing at all?
Yeah. True.
Sorry, Steve, you're going to say something.
No, I was just saying that there obviously is some complicity that goes beyond that. I mean, obviously, people feel empowered um, to suppress investigations or not do the investigations, and I feel like there's some complicity that goes beyond that. It's a cultural shift I see happening. It's a very dangerous trend, because the next step is like, oh, we're just going to start randomly shooting people we don't like or whatever, and kind of just, well, that's okay because we're maintaining order or whatever. I see it's a very slippery slope and a very dangerous slope, and I think the problem is there has been no strong political leadership in this country for decades, and as a result, you have a vacuum, and this is what's filling the vacuum, and that's why it's so important to have an alternative like the People's Party or anybody who's coming up with a constructive vision of what we're trying to move towards, what we're trying to achieve, rather than
Right.
some kind of genocidal, fascist, um, Hitler type thing. I mean, I'm not one of these people comparing Trump to Hitler, but I see us culturally moving in this direction, and I see the Democrats as complicit as the Republicans. I don't see it as being one party, but I think it's an extremely dangerous trend. And yes, we need to have investigations, obviously, and get to the bottom of it. But we also need to have push the alternatives, because young people. I mean, these like Kyle, what was his name? Kyle Rittenhouse in Kenosha. I mean, why are these people? Like, that's what they're looking for. They think they're helping out or something, because there's no alternative. There's no vision and the Democrats certainly aren't providing that vision. And that's why I want to. Hopefully, we'll talk about the People's Party, and Jim, maybe you can.
Yeah, if we want to
talk about that.
Turn to some more hopeful aspects of that, as you say, so many people are in line with the idea that there needs to be major changes to all our governments and all our leadership. And so we have tomorrow, both at 4 p.m. Eastern, the People's Convention, which is at this point has which is from the Movement for People's Party, which basically has at this point, where's the list of speakers? It's like Dr. Cornel West, um, um, Nina Turner, Jimmy Dore speaking, Marianne Williamson. Oh, who's that? Who's the senator that ran in 2016? Older guy. I can't remember. Oh, here we go. Marianne
Gravel, Mike
Williamson.
Gravel.
Oh, Mike Gravel speaking, which is
Oh, really?
fancy. Oh, yeah. Jesse Ventura actually just came on, and Chris Hedges is speaking. It's going to be
Yeah, that's
absolutely must-see
fantastic.
TV if like nothing before.
And it will be
For
totally ignored, I'm sure, in the
and Nick
mainstream.
Brana, and yeah, so you're
Yeah.
going to want to tune into
So
that.
it
I'm sure
is
it's
going
going
to
to
be
be
virtual, right?
yeah, it'll be a YouTube kind of thing. If you've been active in the People's Party, there's a Movement for People's Party app. I don't think you necessarily have to be active in it, but if you go and you sign up quickly, even today, you get the Movement for People's Party app, and I think there's going to be some voting for things platform-wise during it on that. Also tomorrow is the vote for Articles of Unity. So basically what we're talking about is there's a movement to have one person from the left, one person from the right, so we get by this this hatred, and we basically rule from the center, and basically there's like three conservatives, three more liberal folks that have been nominated. So Andrew Yang, Tulsi Gabbard, Jesse Ventura, then Admiral McRaven, Dan Crenshaw, who's a rep from Texas, I believe. Also, he was a Navy SEAL, and John Jocko Willink, who is also a Navy SEAL. I've seen him on like Joe Rogan with Tulsi. I'm not exactly sure to his background, but so essentially they're going to be picking one from the left, one from the right. Voting for that is tomorrow. The duopoly is worried because I was telling Steve before the show, they actually shut down Articles of Unity Twitter yesterday because they tweeted out, just say no to Donald or Joe. So they shut them down for that. I mean, and I couldn't post the articlesofunity.org website link on Twitter. It would come up like, oh, this is a dangerous site or something like that, because it is dangerous to them. So for 24 hours, they shut that down right before this thing is happening. So that's a whole lot of things that are really interesting that we can at least be slightly hopeful that movements are going to continue. I'm not sure what the future of the Articles of Unity is going to be after this, but Movement for a People's Party with Nick Brana and Nina Turner and people like that behind it is going to continue, and it's going to continue to be a force. So I think there's a lot to be hopeful for, that we can change all these things that are currently holding us back.
Well, especially if we're not invested in just one personality like Bernie Sanders. Like the idea is that you have a movement.
Yep.
It goes beyond a personality.
And
Which
I think, yeah,
go ahead.
I think for a while, Moving for a People's Party it spun out of ex-Bernie folks, and I think
Right,
it
right,
was about drafting Bernie for a long time. And I think they're wide open. They're basically, we need to get good people in, and they're not even going to run anybody for president until 2024. They're going to go more grassroots level. That's kind of why I'm also supporting the Unity 2020 articles. Because basically they actually are pushing a candidate this year, saying we can't have Biden or Trump.
So these articles
a
of
lot
unity,
of exciting things. Yeah,
this is not part of the MPP. Then this is separate. You're saying
it is not. It's a completely separate effort to basically say this is much more focused on we need to govern from the center so everyone has a hand in it, so everyone works together rather than everyone demonizing the other side, even if it's just theater. So
and
that under
this
the
is
covers,
Eric
corporations and
Eric Weinstein's idea.
this is actually Brett.
Brett Weinstein, right?
His brother, yeah. Brett
Okay.
Weinstein,
And
yeah.
you mentioned like a couple of names there, like so obviously Tulsi, who said she
Yeah.
won't run third party, and Crenshaw, who spoke
Yeah.
at the RNC. So these people are.
And Jesse Ventura and Yang.
But I
and,
mean, I could see them running
Admiral
as.
McRaven.
But I mean, Yang has endorsed Biden, right? So I mean, like these people, if that unity movement says Tulsi and Crenshaw should run or whatever, they're not going to
Well,
accept any kind of
it's a huge
nomination, right?
wild card. I mean, if Tulsi is now, I mean, when is her term up? If she's no longer a,
January,
yeah,
January of next year. Yeah.
I'm not sure that she wouldn't. I mean, the idea is to appeal to patriotism. Sir, you need to serve your country, and I'm not sure, but I think like a Ventura kind of thing is much more likely. Oh, and also tonight on Move for a People's Party has these is it Move for a People's Party, or one of them is having Jesse Ventura speak tonight. I think that actually might be Articles of Unity. Is they have like these campfires, so just be on YouTube. You look for Jesse Ventura campfire Articles of Unity. He's on with them tonight talking about stuff. So
Okay.
that's all I got. I think there's a lot. I think there's enough people that are riled up that are continue to fight for reasonable government that represents us. So I think, watch this space, continue to fight. There's a lot of reason to be optimistic.
So here's my two things. One is I don't understand the concept. I like the unity thing,
Right.
but I don't understand how they would actually run someone this year, because don't you have to be on the ballot?
They address that. They
do
basically
like a write-in.
They say they have that figured out. They also say, I also know the plans around so that no one will be able to accuse them of being spoilers, because if they get to a certain point and they don't have at least like enough, they're not polling high enough to be competitive, they're going to pull the plug on it. So they will not be
60 days away from the election.
Yeah, I know, you're right. You are talking the difference of weeks. I
don't understand how this is actually something feasible, which almost makes it like, obviously if they would have done this, I don't know, like 9 months ago or something, that'd be different. But I mean, for you to be doing this now, I just don't understand how that would be something that can actually happen. I don't understand the logistics of it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like that's where I'm stuck.
And I'm negligent in not having, because basically there is some discussion in there about the whole thing. How can you get on every ballot? And they basically say we've got this path figured out.
I'm wondering if it's that they're thinking that it's like a write-in type of thing. That if there's enough write-ins, then right, you can like I think it's that you apply to be able to be a candidate with enough write-ins or something, like to qualify. I think it might be something along those lines. But so my other thing is that I really think, because you know how a lot of people have been saying, especially a lot of Tulsi people, they've been saying that they are thinking about just writing her in. And I've been like mulling this over for a little bit. And I feel like if I'm going to hold my nose and do anything, I think I'm going to hold my nose and vote for Green. Simply because I think the strategy really, truly should be, and especially for people that want to do the whole movement for a People's Party, you should vote for a third party. That's what really should be brewing right now, is a movement to coalesce behind a specific third party. And everybody who is not satisfied, which should be everyone, that right, is not satisfied with the options of Biden and Trump, just so that we can get 5% for the third party, so that they can get federal funding, so that they can get on the debate stage, so that they can, you know what I'm saying? Because without all those things, we can't achieve anything. And it's always going to be running this, like, against all these hurdles, that it's just to get us started. You know what I'm saying? So I think, honestly, the real strategy should be, and this is just my opinion, it should be for everyone to just back one third party, so that third party can finally get to the same status. That's the only way we're actually going to get rid of the Dems, honestly.
But unfortunately, that the Green Party just, showed evidence of having the same kind of corruption and lack of fairness in the nomination process that we're fighting against, right? Mm-hmm. I understand your argument. I completely agree that, I mean, I would like to see there to be a clear leader amongst all these various well-intentioned efforts to represent the people. And I think there should be a coalescing at some point. I also think everyone, I would think everyone as an individual should consider what they should do, because like I know in our state, if you do a write-in, it actually doesn't get attributed to that particular person. It literally just goes into a box of others, is my understanding, right? So that's a legitimate way to register dissatisfaction with your options, but nobody cares. And there is something to be gained, as you're saying, if we were to all vote green, they get 5%, whether or not the Republicans and Dems ever let them on the stage.
Honestly, they can.
Yeah.
We can also. Or what if it's like the Greens and the Libertarians? You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
all the Republicans that don't want to vote for Trump vote Libertarian, and
Right.
all the Democrats, or all the lefties that don't want to vote for the Democrats vote Green. That has to be the strategy, because honestly, we're dumbasses. That's why we're never going to get anywhere, because we don't have a fucking strategy. We're all just in our little bubbles being like, I'm morally superior than everybody else because I won't vote for Biden, or I won't do this. Dude, that's not going to fucking do anything. It's not going to change anything. We need to have a strategy. And unfortunately, everybody is just too on their high horse to actually come together and be like, we got to hold our nose. And I'm not going to vote Dem. That's for sure. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
If I'm going to hold my nose, I'm going to vote for a third party. I'm not going to vote.
But you mean a third party? Like, first of all, if 5%, you do get the funding, but as far as debates go, it's like 15%, right? And they'll just make up new rules to keep them off the debate stage until it's like they can't deny it, like it's like 25% or whatever. So I mean, we're looking at, unless something radically happens, that's going to take a long time. And so I agree. Yeah, I'm probably going to vote Green for president, but you got to distinguish between a presidential race and the top versus down ticket, right? So if you have super progressives running for congressional seats, like you have Alex Morse in the first district in Massachusetts, I think it's important that you get rid of Richie Neal in that, so you have to distinguish there, because I mean, first of all, I don't think Green necessarily they don't have candidates down ticket for all of these offices. They may have for some, but I agree that at the top is a lot different than the bottom when you vote.
I mean, I'm just going to end up like watching everything, and if Joe Jorgensen or Howie for the Greens, like in Massachusetts, were approaching like 5% or something, or nationally or whatever, then I would probably just jump on that horse in the final days. I'm just going to watch. I'm just going to watch like who's making some headway. But that's agreeing with what you're saying, is we've got to go along and we got to coalesce around somebody that can make a little headway here at this point.
I have not received my mail-in ballot, by the way, and
really?
The primary is on Tuesday. We sent in our response, requesting mail-in ballots weeks ago, and have not received a ballot. I don't know about you guys. But
I'm also wondering if
I'm going to vote in person, so
I'm going to show up in person. I don't know what's going to happen. They're going to say, "Oh, you got a mail-in ballot, so we're going to give you a provisional ballot." I don't know what's going to happen, but yeah,
I'm wondering if we're going to be able.
Your vote's going to go to Joe Kennedy.
Yeah, right.
I'm wondering if we're going to be able to vote ahead of time at City Hall like usual, because that for being COVID safe, that whenever I've done that, you go in, there's nobody there except for the two people working there, and you vote and you're out, and you don't meet anybody, you don't get near anybody. So I might go that way. Or
I don't know if they in Quincy here. I think they had a sign. I think yesterday was the last day. I don't know if you can do it.
Oh, okay.
I think that was it. So I think I missed the vote on that one.
Oh,
so I'll have to show up and vote in person, and risk getting COVID or whatever. But
right,
the way it goes. Voting's very important to me. So
so I don't know. Like we'll see when it comes. I'm really excited for Movement for People's Party. I'm totally down for that. Obviously that's not something that they're doing for this election, but I really think for this November, the smartest thing to do. I feel like that is why the Tea Party was so successful. They were just very strategic in how they went about everything, And I think that that's what needs to happen. We need to have like a Tea Party on the left, But unfortunately, it's like I said, everybody's on their high horse, and nobody, no one wants to work with each other. So
And that Tea Party thing, like, it still exists underground. Like, my neighbor's a Trump guy. I'll go over and have a beer with him, and he came off a bridge holding signs for Trump yesterday because this Tea Party network still exists, and somebody has a list out there, and they can pull 30 people to go get on a bridge on a Friday afternoon.
see?
Well, the right always has its shit together. I have to say that. That's just the way it is. And I see a lot more Trump signs around. I see like one pathetic little Biden sign, on a front porch. And after I've seen like
one Biden sign.
Trump Pence signs.
Yeah, I've seen one Biden sign at some house that was, completely Dem. It probably been in the Dem family for a million years because they had like every single Dem sign was out.
Hey, I was out driving at 7:00 last week, and we drove, and there was a guy out there holding a vote for Trump poster, with a big banner and everything. I mean, these people they are dedicated. And you don't see the Biden people doing that.
I don't know that there are Biden people.
Oh, there aren't Biden people.
Because this election is just a referendum on Trump. It's literally you're either for Trump or you're against him. And that's why you don't have to be for Biden.
Well,
you just have to be against Trump.
This election is all about getting the moderate Republicans. That's what it's all about. Because you notice that Caitlin Johnstone had a thing today, I think, referring to Aaron Mate wrote a thing about how during the whole DNC for 4 days of the Democratic National Convention, there was not one mention of Russiagate, not one mention of impeachment. And you think if this was what they had spent the last 4 years doing, which they did basically, that they would at least mention it during the convention. And the only reason they don't mention these things is because they're trying to get the moderate Republicans. They don't want to turn off the moderate Republicans by bringing up these things again. So that to me is amazing that they spent up until like a week ago. I mean, they're still talking about Russiagate, and they did not mention it at the convention. Isn't that strange?
That is very, very strange. You're right. Absolutely. You would have thought there would have been more Russiagate, even though they're still doing it in tweets and this and that. They're still banging the Russiagate drum. They're still, they're still talking about, not having faith in the outcome. I mean, Hillary had that tweet where she basically said Joe Biden should not, concede.
Right. Shouldn't concede under any conditions. What does that mean?
Right. I don't know how that's not, basically being a traitor and saying to go against the Constitution and not have a peaceful transfer of power. I mean, I don't know how you get away with that.
It basically is, so that's what I'm saying. There's this consensus now developing. There's a neo-fascist agenda consensus. Like, we don't really need the Constitution. We don't really need basic rights. We just need to get shit done. And basically, if the other side's breaking the rules, so are we. So that's what we're devolving into, I fear.
Oh yeah. And so there is interest around the polling these days, to whatever extent you believe polls. It's tightening up enough that Biden is actually coming out of his bunker next week or after Labor Day in like 9 days or something. He's actually coming out, and he's going to go to the Midwest to a few spots. One thing that's interesting I found is that if you watch Real Clear Politics has all the various betting sites, and the betting sites in 2016 actually got it right on like a November 8th, a few days before. They had Trump way up. Because basically if you're setting the odds that cost you money if you get wrong, they have no political reason at all to do anything but get accurate statistics. And so I'm watching those now, and those have Biden crashing and Trump's coming up fast.
Yeah.
So we're going to see some interesting things happen. Biden knows he has to change his game plan. So he's actually going to have to go out and talk to people again, and who knows what can come out of that.
Well, if Trump wins this, and he may very well win, that's going to do more than anything for the People's Party. I think that people, because the Democratic Party is basically they're dead. DOA, if they lose this thing, because I mean,
they'll be able to fundraise like crazy, but you would think anyone reasonable would say that
they
they
can't
haven't
win
got the
though.
answer. Yeah,
Yeah,
you'd think that moving for People's Party would get a huge boost at that point. I would hope.
I would hope. But yeah, I see definitely things are 60 days, which is not much time, but it's also a lot of time because things can change. And
Yeah.
I'm not. I mean, to me, it doesn't really matter which detergent brand wins, because they're basically the same thing. But um,
But if one detergent brand is to say ignore the Constitution and peaceful transfer of power, that's incredibly dangerous.
well, aren't they both saying that? Because Hillary said basically we're not going to, honor the
Well, well,
Constitution.
well,
Or
that's
yeah,
what I'm
that's what
saying.
you're referring to.
I'm actually talking about Hillary. I'm trying to
But
think.
Trump has intimated the same thing. So I mean, it's like,
Well, he's also talking about doubts about results, right? Because
you
of
know,
mail-in ballots, et cetera, right? Yeah.
um,
Yeah, I don't know. It could be really dangerous time. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's going to be it's going to no matter what, the election's kind of like, again, I don't think it's going to change that much. Yeah, okay, so you get a better Supreme Court appointment, for Ruth Bader Ginsburg's seat under Biden than under Trump, but like in the big picture, it's not going to make a lot of difference, unfortunately.
With either party, Republicans or Democrats, right? It's going to be same old. I mean, actually, I'm not sure if the Democrats have like spun through all their impeachments and prosecutions, et cetera. What does Trump final term untethered, not having to spend 70% of his time talking to lawyers? What does that administration look like? I don't
Right.
know.
Well, I
But
mean, if the
it could be
Democrats win,
terrifying.
if they win the Senate, then they can impeach him. I mean, and convict him, which they would probably do. But
Well, what would they
short of
convict him
that,
on though? The most I think the most reasonable things to convict him on would be like war crimes kind of things. But again, they're never going to do
well,
that.
they'll find something like whatever his income taxes or something that where they don't have to
Yeah,
go down that hole. Right.
yeah. But conspiracy corner, all I got is the apparent use again of Twitter, social media to shut down somebody that's a threat. The articles of Unity Twitter account got shut down. Nobody could tweet out the articles of unity.org website right before as they're trying to organize to have a vote this weekend. So that seems like to me the duopoly threatened by any kind of protest vote, any kind of showing of dissatisfaction with the choice of leadership we have, and for the horrible excuse of them tweeting out "just say no to Donald or Joe" hashtag. I would say that they're definitely frightened and doing the same kind of manipulations they would do to Tulsi to shut down her voice.
But what could be the legitimate excuse that they used for doing that?
Well, again, they don't really use an excuse. They throw a page at you of, you've broken our rules, our terms of our agreement of use, and they throw a page at you that has 1,000 things listed. And you look at that, and they apparently appealed to Twitter to say, tell us what do we, and they. That always falls on deaf ears. They never give you a specific reason. And then it was turned back on, after like 24 hours. Yeah,
After they saw the backlash for it, probably.
Yeah, I mean, they probably saw that it was actually generating more publicity than they could have had, if they hadn't done it. So,
but could you look at those, the myriad of rules and find something that somehow you can construe as a reason that they would shut it down? It seems to me like it's pretty innocuous to put up something about a unity ticket or whatever. Like, it's not like you're advocating violence.
So much.
Well, with the hashtag, right? That's what you were saying.
Yeah,
but it's the hashtag.
It's a hashtag that a million other people are that started trending, and then they shut down articles of unity.org for pushing it along. For basically pushing it. So, it's obviously a very clear denial of speech to someone that's a political adversary. the duopoly. It's just
Although, now, would you say that would you say that Jack Dorsey has something to do with this? Because supposedly, doesn't like Saudi Arabia have like a really big chunk of ownership of Twitter?
So I don't know, but I know that like Weinstein and others that are in the movement that were, they were using their account to complain, were tagging at Jack. So they were basically saying, what's going on here? This is ridiculous. Show us what particular rule we broke. There's no way we've done anything that breaks your terms of use. And certainly if you compare to a million tweets by Republicans and Democrats during the same time frame that are much more objectionable, insulting people, attacking people, that it's completely bogus, and that's all they wanted to do was like just shut them down for 24 hours, and then they turned it back on when it's just to cause some problems. And I think you're right. Maybe they just turned it back on because they were actually getting more publicity. Because I know I was out there raising, I basically go into other social media trying to complain about it and trying to raise a fuss about it,
Well, it's kind of like what they did to Tulsi after the debate, right? That's what prompted her to sue Google.
Exactly.
When they suspended her account right after the debate, when she was trending, and right when she was at her hottest, you know what I'm saying, like right when the coal was hot, essentially, to actually pick up some steam. Well, then obviously that's when they decided to just put a little obstacle in her way, and okay, yeah, no, here you go, you're back up. And supposedly they never actually gave her an answer either.
They never
did the same thing where they just kind of reactivated her
exactly.
the account.
But that was probably even more targeted, right? Because she was the major trending political tag on Twitter, and they shut her down. That was on Twitter or Facebook? That was Google. Yeah. She was a major
It was on YouTube.
trending. So people were going to look for her on Google, and they shut down her link to her website where people could actually find out about her.
Well, it's where
that's just horrific.
Well, no,
money.
it was the advertisements. It was her advertising account that was suspended. So, obviously, right when people were looking at, for Tulsi, well, then, the advertisements that she had paid for it,
the ad account. Yeah, the ad account is what would pop up at the top that would have her link to her website, that people could actually find out about her. So they and this is also pretty nefarious too with Articles of Unity, where basically they're affecting the vote that's happening on Sunday by just before the vote's happening, suppressing discussion about this organization by suppressing the website is
well, suppressing fundraising too. I mean, this is with Tulsi because of the advertising.
Right.
People couldn't donate like they wanted to donate right after the debate, and they couldn't do it because it didn't appear.
Right. So and again, the only good thing is it's like they're actually worried about this movement, which is kind of interesting. I would have thought I think what you seem to be thinking, Daisy, that so how is this really going to work? Is this really going to? And I think it has an extremely slim chance of working. But then again, in August of 2016, Trump had an extremely slim chance of, weird stuff happens. The Red Sox come back from a 10-run deficit with 2 outs, and this stuff happens, right? So I'm still willing to look for not a miracle, but something close to help us out at this point. Yeah.
And honestly, I don't know if it's so much that they think that that the Unity ticket is actually some sort of like competition, or you know what I'm saying, like that they actually have a chance. I think it's more so that they want to cut the legs off this thing even before it picks up any steam. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't want it to even, get to the starting line. We
No,
don't
they
even
don't
want you to line up.
Yeah, they don't
essentially.
want the discussions happening that happen around that, discussing these candidates. All this wonderful discussion is happening about what would it look like to have a unity ticket of a person from the left and a person from the right, governing from the center, anti-war, because both of them agree that when we spend trillions overseas, it's wasted money that we could use here. And why are we doing that imperialistic bullshit anyway?
Mhm.
They don't want discussion of that.
Right.
That
That's the
reminds
main thing.
me. It reminds me of this old joke in the former Soviet Union was that the KGB was everywhere, right, and watched you and stuff, and then people have this nostalgia for it. And they said, well, at least back then they cared enough to follow you and tap your phone and trail you and everything, and like they cared about you enough, So I think with this unity thing, like at least they care enough to take notice and
Exactly.
Right.
which means they're paying attention. So that's a good.
Yeah, I was honestly surprised that it's like they're really concerned about this. They're really concerned about Ventura and Yang and Tulsi and and Grange Crenshaw and these folks, having any. It probably is more the discussion that happens about that, which might feed into later libertarian or movement for People's Party or something like that. Just this good discussion is threatening to them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it just solidifies. I think that if this unity ticket picks up any more like of a movement, what that's going to do, especially in the run up to November, it's going to highlight the dissatisfaction that people have with these two as our option, and that is not what we have to keep the focus on. Trump bad. Trump needs to go. That's it. That's the only story that needs to be coming from anyone outside of the right. Anything else, no, it has to be subdued. We got to quelch that. We can't talk. It's just like how, notice how this time they're not talking about how the other candidates in the primary were, attacking Biden or anything like that. They don't want to talk about any of those things because it's supposed to be a unified ticket. Everybody's coming together. No one is against Biden. He is the perfect person to bring us all together. You know what I'm saying? Like there's no talk of anything else. And ultimately, it reminds me a lot of how, when you go to a place of employment and they don't want you to talk about a union, they don't want to talk. They don't want you talking about unionizing. And the moment that you get caught talking about unionizing, they got to go after you, and they don't want you to, because it's just that, just having people talking about it, it's sowing that seed. And we don't need that seed to get water and sunshine and grow, right? That's the whole thing.
The other thing they'll hate about this is that the vote actually is going to be using ranked choice voting, which will be fun. So I get to tomorrow. I get to not only do ranked choice voting, I get to vote for Tulsi again. I get to just exercise some demons against the DNC and the RNC and vote for some reasonable people. I'm really excited. But we'll be talking next week about this because, this is going to happen fast, right? There's going to be a vote. It's all electronic. They're going to know immediately, like what the result is, and they're going to reach out to the people and try and persuade them to run, and either this happens fast or it fizzles out quick. I think.
So can we sign up for that now? I can just go to Articles of Unity and sign up for that,
you can try. I'm not sure if there was a cutoff point. But you could go. I would say go for it. I'm not actually sure if they've opened it up and continuing to allow people to get in. Yeah.
Okay.
You might have missed a vote on that one, Steve.
But I'm excited. Yeah, I'm excited to participate.
Your only chance for democracy, and you might have missed out.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. It's really interesting. It's like you have to vote on a smartphone. It has to be like on Android. It has to be on Chrome. They've got very particular apps they're going to be using and trying to make sure it's verified.
It's a big conspiracy.
I don't like that. Why does it have to be on Chrome? Why does it have to be Google?
Yeah, I know. I agree with you. Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Legislative Week in Review?
Yes.
All right.
Let's do it.
What do we got?
All right. So as we know, our Congress is on vacation right now, right? Even though they had come back, the House had come back. They were called back for a special session because they needed to vote on that postal bill, right? On the postal service bill. Well, it turns out that they actually presented a bunch of bills or amendments last week, and I mean, I wasn't aware of this, but I became aware of it, obviously. And so they actually, just on the 28th, they presented 23 amendments, right? And one of them really stood out to me, which is this one. It's HR 8117 to hold individuals convicted of federal offenses during the course of protests financially liable for the cost of federal policing and for other purposes.
Yeah, that's
There's
pretty.
your fascism.
I actually did just read on. I actually just did read something about some kid that organized protests getting billed for the local police.
$2,500 bill.
Yeah, so they're looking for that kind of stuff. Oh my, that is just. I mean, how is that not shutting down your freedom of speech?
Exactly. If they and it was only a matter of time, and that's why they've been letting these riots and all this kind of stuff been bubbling up, because one, it foments this division amongst the populace, and then it gives them this justification to come up with bills like this that will silence your dissent, right? But all doing it under the guise of, but we have to do this. Our hands are tied. We have to do this. We need law and order.
And the fact is, with the Dems essentially going after suburban white moms, some of this stuff is going to pass. Some of this stuff is going to play. I mean, Biden is not speaking out in favor of the protesters and so forth now because he's aware of that dynamic that, the white moms in the suburbs are a little afraid of what they're seeing with fires in the cities and things like that. Yeah. And under the cover of that, this stuff is going to pass.
Well, I saw that I don't watch CNN, so I don't really know if 100% if this is the right person. But I think I saw that Don Lemon came out and said these riots have to stop. So now even CNN is starting to push this narrative,
Right.
And again, they can always coalesce, the left and the right in the Congress can always coalesce when it comes down to anything that will be against the people.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's absolutely true that the Dems are still taking black voters completely for granted. Who else are they going to vote for? And so the Biden campaign is pushing messaging towards suburban white moms, soccer moms. We'll keep things safe for you, and don't worry. It's you can virtue signal with identity politics, but anything that really counts, your privileges are going to be protected, and you won't be threatened.
It's all about safety. And Ron Paul talks about this all the time, about how, who was it? It was one of our founding fathers was it George Washington? Or it's something about how, no, I don't want to say it because I'm going to get it all wrong. But it was something about how if you're willing to give up your liberties for safety, then you'll end up having neither. I'm totally butchering the quote, but it's something
right.
You got the content of it correctly. Correct. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So
it wasn't George Washington. I know that. It was like it was either Ben Franklin or Jefferson or somebody.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. One of those.
We can look that up for next time.
Okay. So this was introduced by Representative Jim Banks, and he is a Republican because, of course, the Republicans, they have to introduce this. There's no way that a Dem would do this, but, it's not that they won't support it, but they definitely, but it definitely has to be a Republican.
They'll play that game that just enough Dems will support it. The ones that are not in competitive races right this cycle, just enough will report it. Will support it to get it through. They always play that game.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so this was introduced, as I said, on the 28th, along with 22 other amendments. It says that it was referred to the Committee on the Judiciary, and in addition to the Committee on Ways and
Richard
Means.
Neal,
Oh, so you know Mr. Richard Neal.
yeah.
Points to AOC came out for Amash, right?
Oh, did
I mean,
she?
for Morse.
For Morse.
Morse. I'm sorry,
Alex
for Morse.
Morse.
Yeah.
Yes, Morse. So that's great.
Well, she's finally showing, she's kind of growing a pair now, finally, but a
Little
bit.
too little, little too little, little too late,
Yeah.
or whatever, But hey,
yeah,
we'll take it. We'll
I'll
take it.
Right.
Support Morse. Yeah, that's great.
Oh yeah, because Pelosi endorsed Neal, right?
I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah. And
as well as Joe Kennedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I said, it's been introduced there. It doesn't have any co-sponsors or anything like that, right? And for whoever doesn't know, Jim Banks, he is the representative from Indiana, District 3, right?
Which is
I'm not going to go into like the whole like his finances or anything like that. He gets a lot of money from the defense. That much I can tell you. He's got them all, all the Northrop Grumman, Lockheed Martin, he's got
the next step after they make you pay for the police is like under Stalin, where they would execute somebody and then send the family a bill for the bullets.
Jeez.
So,
jeez.
then the defense industry would be.
That is essentially what this is, though. Seriously.
Yeah. Oh, I know. It's just one step away from that.
So I got this. So he put out a press release, right? And it says Representative Banks introduces bill to stop rioters of enhanced federal benefits, pay for cost of policing. And I'm going to go into the bill because the bill is only 2 pages, but. So he introduced the Support Peaceful Protest Act on Friday that would require arrested rioters who were caught committing crimes like acts of violence, looting, or vandalism to pay for the cost of federal policing of the riot and be ineligible for federal unemployment assistance.
Okay. What about the banksters in 2008? Do they feel the full financial consequences of their actions? I guess it doesn't really apply to them.
Oh, you know what?
Exactly.
I don't think so. It's because, the people that are rioting, they're too poor. Essentially, that's what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, you need to have at least, $1 million in the bank account, and that's how you get away with everything. Everyone else, you get the real justice.
I think everything can be boiled down to instead of prosecuting Bush for his war crimes, they gave him a Liberty Medal. I think everything Obama, and you can find the picture of Biden putting the medal on him. Everything boils down to that. Protect my back. I'll protect the next guy's back. We're above the law.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so it says, Antifa thugs are descending on suffering communities, disrupting peaceful protests, and leaving violence, looting, and vandalism in their wake. They turned Milwaukee, Seattle, and Portland into war zones, and now they're moving the chaos to Kenosha, Wisconsin. Because nothing happened in Kenosha, Wisconsin that would actually, merit any of these, protests going on, and maybe just a little bit of unrest that's going on there. Nothing actually happened there. We don't have kids walking around, 17-year-old white kids walking around fucking, semi-automatics right by the cops, getting water from them. And that is not happening.
So
meanwhile,
again,
they're shooting other people 7 times in the back.
I'll play devil's advocate. There are people on both sides that take advantage of chaos and cause problems. I mean, there's no reason that pizza shops in Wisconsin have their windows smashed in, right? I mean, those are people that hide in amongst the peaceful protesters. They're not necessarily organized like Antifa or whatever like that. But there are people there are kids that will take advantage of that situation and do things they shouldn't be doing.
Right, but he's talking about here, Banks is talking about Antifa thugs, which are anti-fascist thugs. You know, if you have
Right.
anti-fascist thugs, it's no longer safe for fascists. So we have to ban these
No,
Antifa thugs.
I disagree with the messaging here, but the fact is that there are. I would like to see the peaceful protest do more self-policing and prevent uh, businesses from I mean, because it's not doing the movement any good to
Yeah,
have gigantic fires. It's not doing any good for a mom and pop family business to have the
agreed. But
windows shut in. You
you have
know,
provocateurs going in there and like deliberately breaking windows and they
and
like
that
they have,
happens. Yep,
so
that
like
does happen. Right.
they can't
Right.
self-police against that because it's not,
I
it's
think
somebody
it's a.
coming in.
I
And
think
when
it's a.
it's the police that are those
Yeah.
provocateurs, are they going to charge the police with those felony charges and
Right.
charge them for them to have to pay for the
But
repair and all that and the extra hours? Are they going to be charged with that? I'm pretty sure they're not going to be.
No. That's why
right. No,
the movement
exactly.
has.
I mean, that's wrong that there are, and I do believe that that happens. I do believe there are people that trying to make the peaceful protesters look bad,
Right.
do that, smashing windows and all that kind of stuff. I also think they're just kids that get overly excited that are in that amongst a group and it's not well policed and they do cause
Well, that's
vandalism
why
and
the
cause
peaceful
problems.
protesters have to have very clear nonviolent
Absolutely.
of
Absolutely.
interaction, because
Yeah.
the Gandhian, model again, that you have to have that response. What do you do if someone starts coming after you with starts, violently coming after you or start whatever? How do you react to that? They have to be trained to do that, just like in the civil rights movement. They have to know how to respond. So that is a responsibility of the movement to kind of encourage and promulgate those responses to minimize, what you're talking about. Is people just get there and they lose control or whatever,
And
and then they get blamed.
that's exactly what I believe is there needs to be. I think there needs to be more self-policing, which has nothing to do with this bill being completely an attempt to deny free speech. I mean, it's true, but there does need to be more self-policing by the peaceful protesters, I think.
Well,
Agreed.
and I agree with that, and I'm not disagreeing with that.
Yeah.
But I think we also have to take into account that you have, like in California, where they were trying to pass the George Floyd, the justice bills that came out as a result of George Floyd's murder.
Right.
They none of them passed. They were all denied, and so it's like like how Steve always says that none of this is ever going to come to any good, and nothing's ever going to come out, and nothing's actually going to come out of this, and it's all for nothing, and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, eventually you're going to have people who are just tired of this same shit over and over again, and a lot of this is not just the injustice of these murders. It's also the fact that we are how many months into this pandemic? Our fucking Congress is on vacation,
Right.
and people are getting evicted from their homes. They're losing their jobs. They're getting sick. Or they have family members that have died. There's a lot of frustration that's coming up, that's bubbling up. The lack of leadership is it's really doing a number on people. But I mean, people can't. You got to think about, psychologically speaking, what we've been going through for how many months, and then it's also the whole thing of locking people down and making people wear masks, and it's like all this stuff is like bubbling up. And so it's not just one thing that's happening. So I'm not saying that that's the justification or the reason behind any of these riots or the looting or anything like that. But I just think that for some people, this is like a big fuck you to the system. You know what I'm saying? And I can't really blame them for that.
Yeah, but when the system includes mom and pop black businesses, that serves no purpose. So I understand the anger. I understand the frustration, but you have to channel it in a direction that serves a purpose.
Hey, listen, I totally get that, but it's pretty easy for us to do that sitting from our privileged seats right here.
Oh yeah. Oh,
You know what
I
I'm saying?
agree.
Like,
Yeah.
and that's what I always say. I'm not the
Yeah.
one actually going through these things. It's not hitting my particular community. So I'm not going to tell somebody how else they should react to any of these things. I don't have to necessarily agree with what they're doing, but I can't tell you that what you're doing is not what is right for you.
Right.
Because
But it's
maybe
just,
for these people, it's what they just need that outlet. They have to. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not condoning it. I'm just like,
Right.
I understand that people, human beings, it's just like if you mistreat an animal and then the animal goes out and bites someone, or you know what I'm saying, like they act out. Well, it's only natural for that animal to act that way, right? And guess what? We're fucking animals. Like, you know, people don't want to think of it that way because
Well,
we're so special because we're human. But guess what? We're another fucking animal on this planet.
but,
And if we get mistreated, we're gonna act out, and we just have different ways of acting out.
but why are we
Again, I'm not
focusing on, why don't
condoning
we
it.
focus on the real crimes? You know, like these are like, yeah, sure, these, you know, it's bad when a business gets destroyed or whatever, but I agree with that. But like the real crimes, like these financial crimes, the crimes of imperialism, those are the real crimes where a lot of people are getting hurt. You know, with lack of health care, that's a crime, right? And the tax
right.
system, that's a crime. These are major, major crimes. They aren't even being identified as crimes. Instead, they're focusing on, you know, somebody got hurt on a street, whatever. Well, yeah, that's an injustice for that person. It's a tragedy. It's a crime. But in the scale of things, like you have to look at everything like next to these huge crimes that are going on, and no one's talking about those.
Right.
Why not?
Well, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And that's the complete utter failure of our government that we're saying we're looking for a route to change that.
Well, the system is criminal,
Yeah.
and they're not like
Yeah.
identifying. It's not even in the conscious horizon of people that the system is corrupt. You know, I mean, certain people, yes, but like generally among the population, people are saying, oh, the problem is these riots in the cities or whatever, or the violence, or they're going to come to my suburb or whatever. That's the problem. They're not seeing the problem as being like the fact that we have extremely disproportionate, you know, wealth in this country. We have, you know, we're using excessive violence through police and abroad, and these are the problems, not the fact that some people are breaking windows, you know,
Right.
Sure.
wherever.
And that's all a matter of you know, where you get your information from. Folks that are getting their information from media outlets that are essentially propaganda arms of the current government,
Well,
which
they're
we
propaganda and propping up the system. I mean, that's what they do.
sure. And but if folks tune into the People's Convention on Sunday, they're going to hear all about everything you're saying is a problem, Steve.
Yeah, and I hope. I mean,
all that's going to be outlined. Yeah.
Jim. I think you have some kind of a sixth sense. I don't know what it is, but you seem to pick up on stuff before some of the rest of us do. And I just seemed at first I thought the Movement for People's Party, this is just another attempt to form a third party, or was too much based on Bernie or whatever. But now I see a lot of big names are coming out for this convention, and maybe it will
Yep.
actually turn into something. So I think it's a really positive development.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah. I mean, lately, the latest, like Chris Hedges and Jesse Ventura within the past like week, as well as you know, Nina Turner and Dr. Cornel West. It's going to be excellent.
So we have that to look
Getting
forward to.
back
That's
to
great.
this.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So who knows which community is next, said Representative Banks. Due to enhanced federal benefits, taxpayers are giving wages to jobless rioters that are destroying our communities. We need to cut them off from their funding and make them feel the full financial consequences of their actions. So again, it's just dividing everyone. It's become this whole thing of, you know, on the right, that's why you have them all, you have a lot of people on the right, you know, backing that Rittenhouse, whatever the fuck his name is, the 17-year-old kid, yeah, him, you know, saying that he's like, Ann Coulter came out and said like he should be our president or some shit like that. Like this is dividing people so bad, you know, and it's along these lines of this whole like Law and Order thing. And then now so now when people are already in really bad, dire straits, now you're gonna cut off their unemployment. Which again, that's another reason why I've told you, this is why I am not for UBI in certain instances, because this is the kind of shit that they can do.
Yeah. Yeah, that sentence, giving wages to jobless rioters, just like shows such lack of sensitivity to the government's failings during COVID to help people, and
Exactly.
instead use it as a weapon against them. I mean, it's horrific.
Exactly.
Man.
If that doesn't tell you how the Congress thinks of you,
Right.
then I don't know what else will.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know in how many ways they have to explain to you that you are shit and they don't care about you.
Exactly.
Right? Even though their job is to serve you, but no.
Yeah. But they go on vacation and they make Trump look good by passing that unemployment extension, which I think people are receiving now. They're receiving like $300, and the states can kick in an extra 100 or something like that. Insane. They can make Trump look good.
Yep.
It's amazing.
So again, like I said, it's only 2 pages long, super short. So this bill is to hold individuals convicted of federal offenses during the course of protests financially liable for the cost of federal policing and for other purposes. And so again, it's called the Support Peaceful Protest Act. And it says, in the case of an individual convicted of a federal offense related to the individual's conduct at and during the course of a protest with respect to which a federal law enforcement officer was engaged in policing activity, the court shall, so in policing activity, so what does that entail? That means that literally you could be walking down the street and there just so happens to be a protest and you can get picked up and they can say, well, they can charge you, press felony charges against you. And then, also that you'll have to pay all these fees. So it says, the court shall, in addition to the penalty for such conviction, order the individual to pay an order of restitution to the appropriate federal law enforcement agency in an amount that is equal to the cost of such policing activity as determined by the court. Which is like what you were saying, that person, they were charged with a $2,500 fine, right?
So that was even more nefarious. That was a situation where it was like the kid organized a protest and he wasn't guilty of anything. They're not charging him with any vandalism or anything. They're just making him pay for the police. That's unbelievable.
It's nuts. And then it says, an individual convicted of a federal offense related to the individual's conduct at and during the course of a protest is ineligible for any federal pandemic unemployment compensation under Section 2104 of the CARES Act or any other federal supplemental unemployment compensation during the COVID-19 public health emergency, as such is defined, blah, 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 blah. So I don't even know what to even say about this.
The people are hurting, and you find an opportunity to use it against them as another weapon. And now, you find a way to support, again, to continue to support military weapons in police departments is what I see underlying that. If he's getting money from the military industrial complex, the more you ratchet up the need for these Antifa thugs to be put down, the more you're going to keep that pipeline going. I'm sorry, Steve. I keep talking.
No, I forgot what I was going to say. Don't worry about it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's just really disgusting how they just seem to, really punch you and kick you while you're already down. The people are already going through enough. Just the gall to do something like this. You know what I'm saying? How dare you? When you guys, you can't even come up with a stimulus package. You know what I'm saying? You can't even do this part of your job, and then you're gonna come together for this. I
remember what I was going to say. So I think this is just. First of all, it's never going to pass, right? Because it's in the House. So
Yeah, but it's a Republican. So and I
I
think
know that's
we've
what I'm saying. Because
seen.
it's a Republican, he's not going to pass.
Oh, you're saying that? Well, I don't really think that that means anything. In the House, it doesn't really mean anything. And the fact that because obviously it's presented by a Republican, it probably has more legs in the Senate. And the Democrats, they're
Right.
all for the, they're gonna get just enough votes to pass this.
They
Again,
might.
like what
They might.
you know what I'm saying? They're gonna
Always do
well,
that.
yeah, that's my speculation that they're gonna get just enough votes. Obviously, the squad is not gonna vote for it. But
Right.
you're gonna have all these other people that are gonna vote for it, right? And then but you're still gonna have the squad that can be like, no, how can the Congress do this? Then they can act like they actually care.
They can fundraise off it.
Right. But then, the likes of like Nancy Pelosi and all these fuckers, they're definitely for all this stuff because they are for policing. They
Right.
just have to pretend like they're not for it. They have to pretend like they're for Black Lives Matter. But it's like I told you, the fact that you have on CNN that they're now talking about, that these riots have to come to an end. That to me says something. That's a signal. It's a signal so that they can start pushing their people to say, okay, now these protests, they've gone too far. We need law and order, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah, well, my point is that, okay, bills are introduced for two different reasons. One is that they actually may pass, and the second is just for what they look tough back at home or whatever. They can say, I introduced this bill, to make protesters pay for policing or whatever. So, whether or not it passes, it serves a purpose for them, and as part of that mindset that's becoming an increasing, culturally, actually, it's an increasing mindset is that gee, they're going to come into our suburbs, and what are we going to do about it? So this is all part of that coordinated effort to kind of put it down. Whether it's whether this proposal is actually going to become law, or if it's just kind of for show.
Yeah, and when things are so scary out there, and minorities are going to come over on our suburbs, who are you going to vote for but two cops, Biden and Kamala, right? I mean, I don't know. I think they've got this. I think they're actually trying to push. It's not related necessarily to this bill, but I see Biden and Kamala pushing this kind of like fear mongering on their side for the same purpose,
But it's very interesting piece of legislation. Thank you for bringing that to our attention there. That was.
You're welcome.
That's scary.
I'm hoping it's not going to actually pass. I don't want it to pass. I really hope that it's dead in the water. I really hope so. But just like just like they introduced this, that they like to repackage these bills and just put a little bit more flowery wording, and the longer that they allow for these riots to go on, I've said that my hypothesis and my theory is that they are allowing these things to happen because they want to usher in martial law. Because if you look at how now all these different states, now we have the National Guard and federal agents, the states are calling for federal agents to come and help in these things.
Yeah.
This is not by mistake. This is all.
And it's going to get worse as we head into the fall, right? Because with the
and they're going to allow for it to get worse, and then bills like this will only seem sensible. Do you know what I'm saying? Like that's my theory. That's
it's
how
another like
I feel.
how do you use fear, right? So basically, all the George Floyd and Breonna Taylor related legislation is not passing.
They better watch out. If you have a million people protesting, I mean, how are they gonna arrest 1 million people and send them bills for policing? I don't know. I mean, it's okay. It's going to work for a while, but once it becomes a super mass movement, I don't know.
Well, they can of course target it the way they want, right? They've got another weapon, another Patriot Act that they at the time it's only for this one emergency case, but it's around forever, and they'll keep re-upping it or reauthorizing it. But it's another tool The same as when, Obama got rid of habeas corpus. Now they can just grab you off the street. That's how that can happen.
Right.
At the time, nobody was paying attention. Everyone felt secure, or this is the opposite situation. People are actually worried. Oh, we might actually need this now. We get enough people that are actually worried that there's going to be some kind of mass protest in their town or something.
And they're attacking Antifa. You know what Antifa stands for? Racial justice, wealth redistribution. Like a lot of things that people actually want.
Right. Yeah.
So like that, it's one step. I mean, they can call it Antifa and leftist now, but I think it's really going against, it's going against people of color. It's going against. Is going to start being, just like that's what fascism does. I think it's going to start picking out groups, and then going and then building until like, the group expands.
And once you get people used to the idea that millions of their citizens are not to be trusted, and we need laws like this to rein them in, who's to say that they're not going to pass some of that social score stuff that they have in China, so that they can pick out the troublemakers in a mob, right? Well,
Right.
so they can identify that person's social score is this. We can grab them without even any cause at all and throw them in the van just because they're present at this protest, right? I
Right.
mean, yeah, it absolutely funnels towards all that.
And our social score is going down because we're doing this podcast, right?
Oh, we're
Or it's going. I mean, up.
Oh
Depending
yeah,
on which way you look at it.
100%.
Yeah.
We've been flagged already.
Yeah, whichever way it goes,
Yeah. And you know how the thing with for this to work, it's not even like, it has to be a sweeping measure. That's the thing. They only have to do it to certain people of a certain profile, and
Right.
that sends the message, exactly like what they have done to Assange, exactly like how we were talking about last week with Millie Weaver. It's exactly these same things,
Yeah.
where they just use, or even how with Chelsea Manning, what did they do to her? That they re-incarcerated her. They were holding her again, even though she was pardoned, so that because they were trying to get her to go against WikiLeaks again and try to perjure herself, essentially, and in front of a secret jury, a secret grand jury. And obviously, which there's no way of holding anyone to account in a secret grand jury. But they and what did they do to her? I think wasn't it like she was charged $1,000 for every day that she was in prison?
Wow.
The second time. So I think
Yeah.
when she got out, she had a bill of like I want to say maybe like $330,000 that she had to pay. And thankfully, they did a GoFundMe or whatever. But
Yeah.
these are all tools that they use to quelch and silence any sort of dissent. And again, with this, if this does come to pass, they only have to use it on a couple, a few people, or
Right.
you know what I mean, and get the word of mouth that something's happening,
Right.
and then that's when you'll see even less people will be going out and protesting.
Yeah, sorry to bring up Tulsi Gabbard again, but that's exactly what she said. Was all the messaging of her being a Russian agent, all this kind of stuff, and all the CNN and MSNBC everyone jumping on that and attacking her wasn't specifically about her. It was about us. It was about everyone just daring to speak truth about military-industrial complex and wasteful wars and all that stuff.
Well, yeah, and that's why she used to say, "If they'll do it to me, imagine they'll definitely do it to you."
Yeah, a sergeant, right? She's a sergeant in the National Guard for 20 years, and she's a major.
She's a major.
She's a major. I mean, I don't know ranks,
Major is above sergeant, though.
Yeah, I know I do. No, I was born during the disillusionment of Vietnam, and then during, when I was maybe 18, through 20, whatever like that, what do we have going on but like Grenada or something like that? It's like the thought of entering the military, would never entered my mind. It was
people have to stand up. People have to stand up against this. That's the only way, because you can't wait till they come after you, because then it's too late. You have to go and defend. That's
First
why it's so important.
They came for the communists.
Yeah, exactly right.
I didn't
the
say
worn out
anything
quote,
because
but
I wasn't a communist.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, you look at Germany, and it's like, the same type of thing there. People could have stopped. They could have stopped Hitler, but people just, very responsible, hardworking people didn't stand up, and they needed to stand up.
Right.
And they could have stopped this thing. And they didn't.
Yeah.
So look what happened.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why everybody just needs to do their part. Whatever it is that you do, that you need to do, but everyone needs to do something. You know, everyone
Absolutely.
needs to say something. Everyone needs to do something, whatever it may be, even if it's the smallest thing, it doesn't matter. But you can't stay silent. You can't do nothing, because that's the most dangerous.
Absolutely.
Okay. So are we going to end on that note, or do we
Yeah.
have more legislation? Okay. Sounds good.
Watch the People's Convention.
So that's our inspiration for this week.
Peoplesconvention.org. Watch that Sunday.
Get out there.
Get
and do
off your
something.
ass.
Yeah,
I think
get off
4
your
p.m.
ass.
4 p.m. Eastern. It's gonna be a good show compared to the
Get off
TNC
your ass and
Thursday.
watch that convention from your
Yeah,
couch. Right?
get your ass on that couch and watch this convention.
All right. So we'll see everybody next week.
All right.
Take care, everybody.
Thanks for watching, everybody.
Thank you for watching.